Welcome. I am Coach Carolina, and I have a sweet little prenatal maintenance sequence for you today. As always, be sure to check with your healthcare provider and make sure that you've got the green light for yoga and a little bit of fitness today. For today's sequence, you are gonna need a blanket or like a big kind of beach towel. Especially if you have sensitive knees, you'll definitely want something like this. And a block. I have a cork yoga block. You can use one of the foam ones. If you don't have a block, you could use even like a big sturdy water bottle, but something that you could use to help you stabilize just a bit. You can start with the block off to the top of your mat, and you're gonna start in a seated position on the blanket. Prop the blanket up underneath your hips so that your pelvis tilts forward just a little bit. You can sit with your legs crossed. Let's start with the right shin in front of the left. If it's really uncomfortable for you to sit on the ground like this, you're welcome to do this from a seated position in a chair, or even take your legs out wide if that's more comfortable for you. Okay, so let's start just by sitting up tall. Try to level out your hips, relax your shoulders, soften your face. If it helps to close your eyes, and start to slow your breathing down. And take your right hand and place it on your belly. And just take a moment to notice that connection between your palm and your belly, and your palm and your baby. A little greeting, a little hello. And then use your hand as a reminder to encourage some breath. Your inhales to start moving down into your belly. And place your hands on your waist or on the side of your body and see if you can breathe a little bit more out sideways. Even just a tiny little micro movement side to side is good. And keep that belly breath and the side to side breath going, and see if you can bring your left hand up to your heart and encourage that breath to move a little higher up into your chest. Notice if you brought some tension back into the neck and the shoulders again, try to let that go. And just remember that you've got all of this capacity for breathing, even though I know sometimes, especially as the baby grows, it feels like you've got less and less room for breath. Maybe less and less room for yourself. But today we're going to practice making a little bit of space to breathe, space to be, and space to connect to yourself. Okay. Bring your hands to your thighs, or the kind of like the tops of your knees. We're going to take some seated cat-cow. So especially the further along you get into your pregnancy, you may want to manage some of that strain along the abdominal wall, along the front of your belly. So take the cat portion of this, or the cow portion, sorry, and start to lift your chin, lift your chest, and just do a tiny little tilt of your pelvis forward. And as you exhale around the spine, tuck your chin, empty your lungs. Okay, so again, lift your chin, inhale, pull your shoulders back and down, and just take that extension through the front of the belly as far as you're comfortable with, without straining too much. As you exhale, round it out. You can sit back, drop your head. Let's do a few more of those. So breathe in. Chest forward, chin lifts, elbows back. Breathe out. Drop it back and down. One more time, breathe in. And breathe out. Come back up to a neutral spine. We're gonna take some big circles. So kind of like some big barrel rolls with your torso around to the right. 2 or 3 times, just explore any little pockets of tension you might have. And then a few circles around to the left. And you can get your hips into it, your shoulders, your head, whatever feels good for you right now. And then come back to center. Bring your right fingertips to the ground just behind you. Take your left hand to the right side of your rib cage. We're gonna gently use that left hand to encourage the left rib cage forward. Breathe in, sit up nice and tall. And as you breathe out, start to twist from the upper back, from the shoulders, through the neck, and then even through your eyes. Start to look over your right shoulder. So it's a twist really more through your upper back. You're using that left hand to gently encourage the right side of your ribs, the right side of your belly forward. Deep breath in. One more time, twist just a little deeper. And then come back to center. Bring your right forearm down to your right thigh and reach your left arm up and over. So you're gonna get a nice big side bend. If it's more comfortable, you can put your right hand down on the ground. Now notice what happens if you look up and rotate your right ribs and your right shoulder under. And then notice what happens if you start to look down. And then keep looking down. You're just gonna take that left hand up and over across your body towards the ground. Reach as far as is comfortable for you and your body, your belly today. Come through center and roll up to a seated position. Now, take your hands back behind you, uncross the legs, windshield wiper the shins side to side a few times, and just kind of let the blood get flowing again. All right, let's switch up the cross of the leg. So left shin in front and sit up nice and tall. We're gonna take those big circles. So let's start with the circles to the left this time. Big barrel rolls. Notice how this seat might feel a little different in your hips, in your body. And then big barrel rolls to the right. Let's try and make it a little roomy for ourselves in our own body today. So bring your left fingertips to the ground just behind your left hip. Right hand just kind of wrapping around your left rib cage, like you're just trying to give yourself a little bit of a hug here. Keep using that right hand to encourage the left ribs forward so that your shoulders are square to the front. Breathe in, sit up tall. And as you breathe out, start to twist through the shoulders, the chest, and through the neck. And then start to encourage your eyes, maybe even your chin over your left shoulder. And then unwind, left forearm down to the left thigh. Take that right hand up and over. Get your nice big side bend. And open your chest up just a little bit more towards the ceiling. And then start to look down and bring that right hand up, over, and across towards the left, around to the front, and then up through center. Hands back behind you. Let's take a few more of those windshield wipers or a shin box. If it's comfortable for you, or if it feels manageable, you can let your shins wipe side to side without needing to use your hands back behind you. All right, and then now make your way around to a tabletop position. If your knees are pretty sensitive on a hard surface, you can slide that blanket right underneath where your knees would go. I'm probably just gonna leave mine there. just as a little bit of extra cushion for the top of the knees. From a tabletop position, we're gonna take a few cat-cows, but again, the further along in your pregnancy, the more you'll want to manage some of that extra strain along the linea alba, or the midline, the center of your abdominal wall. So you can do that by taking less of a back bend through the lower back and instead focus more on your chest, your chin, even just a slight little tilt of your pelvis, but move to whatever degree or extension feels comfortable for you today. All right, take an inhale, lift your chin, tilt your tailbone just slightly, pull your shoulders back. As you exhale, you can really work to round out the upper back, slide your pelvis under. A few more like that. Breathe in, lift your chin, pull your shoulders back. Breathe out, push the ground away as you empty your lungs. One more time, deep breath in. And a deep breath out. Come back to a neutral spine. You're gonna take the back of your right hand to the top left corner of your yoga mat. Now shift your left hand back just like an inch or two and start to round your spine like in that cat pose. Drop your head. You can stay here or start to shift your hips back towards your heels, even just an inch or two. We're looking to get a nice big stretch down the right side of your body, underneath the arm, in between your ribs. Drop your head. The more you round out your spine, the deeper the stretch you'll probably find. Come back up to center and let's switch sides. So back of the left hand to the top right corner. You can slide your right hand back just a couple of inches for a little bit of a more steady base. Now start to round your back, drop your head, sit back towards your heels just an inch or two. Almost as if you were trying to sit back into a child's pose, but kind of stopping midway. And then come back up, tabletop. Extend your right leg back behind you. Reach your left arm forward. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, release, left hand down, right knee down. Now, if you start to notice a lot of shifting in your hips, or you start to lose the control of or the connection to your abdominals or your belly, then just minimize the movement. So even if it's just an inch or two, you're gonna lift your left knee and right hand. That's totally fine. Or maybe you start to extend them back, lift that right arm up, and then lower. Let's switch sides again. Right leg back, left arm forward, and switch. So take a few more cycles here. And you don't need to worry about straightening the leg or the arm. In fact, a little bit of a bend in the knee, a bend in the elbow, almost like you're trying to hold a big yoga ball between your arms or your legs, might be a little bit more helpful for you to stay connected to your core. Okay, one more cycle. One more rep on each side. Finish that up for yourself. And then we're gonna take some barrel rolls and hip circles here from this tabletop position. So you can think about shifting your hips forward, out, around. You can keep your hips in it or bring your shoulders and your head into it. Don't worry so much what it looks like and just kind of focus on what it feels like. Circles to the right, circles to the left. And then pause at center. Take your right foot out to the right side. We want a bend in this right knee. Try to line up your right heel so it's in line with the left knee. almost like you're doing a side lunge. And then we're gonna keep going with those big hip circles. So lean way over towards that right leg, sit back to the left. Just kind of move around. It doesn't matter which direction, just feel it out for yourself. And then you're gonna pause there at center. You can use your block if you need a little bit of extra support, but we're basically gonna just come up to stand on the left shin and the right foot. Turn your right toes directly out to the side so that your right hip, your right thigh is open. You're gonna bring your right forearm down to your right thigh, reach your left arm up and over. And see what happens when you start to open up your chest towards the ceiling, or when you start to look down, and just find what feels good for you. Keep your right foot where it is, but start to press your hips over towards the left side. You should feel a little bit of a deeper stretch there through the left side of your body. And then come back up to center. You're gonna unwind, bring your hands down to the ground, step your right foot back behind you, and pivot the right foot down so it's parallel to the ground. Pivot your left shin, and you're gonna bring the left palm to the center of the mat. Bring your right hand to your hip. So now you're in kind of a modified plank position. You're gonna reach your left arm up and over to the left side. So lots of side bending today. It's pretty normal for those muscles between your ribs to feel really tight, for the space through your torso and your side body to feel like it is losing room to breathe. And we want to make sure you still have plenty of room. Okay, bring your right hand back down to your hip and down to the ground. Make your way back to a tabletop position. And tuck your toes, lift your hips. You're just gonna push back into a down dog and just kind of pedal your feet, shift your hips. The further along you are, the wider stance you will want to take, but there is no need to straighten your legs here unless that feels like it's really working for you. Okay, come back down to your knees. Let's do the same thing on the second side. So starting with those hip circles in your side lunge, bring the left foot out to the left side, a bend in that left knee, and the left foot is in line with your right knee. Start to move your hips around in big circles, that barrel roll action through your torso, your shoulders, one way and the other. And then come back to center. You can either just come up, or it might be helpful to use that block, press yourself up to the block, and then press your way all the way up. So now turn the left toes out directly to the left side so that the left thigh is open up to the left. Left forearm onto your left thigh, reach the right arm up and over. And you can rotate your chest up. Maybe you look up or down. And then start to press your right hip over towards the right side while you're still reaching up and over to the left. And then come all the way back up. Hand to the ground. You're gonna take the left foot all the way back behind you, and then pivot to the sole of the left foot. Pivot your shin, your right shin, so it's a little bit of a kickstand. Right hand directly underneath that right shoulder. Stack your hips, your ribs, and then reach the left arm up and over. So you can keep the right toes tucked if that helps you feel a little bit more stable or untucked. You can look up or down, but make sure you take a couple of nice breaths into the left side of your body. right, bring that left arm up, around, and down, and make your way back to a tabletop position. So we're gonna take some modified flows. Normally in a vinyasa class, you might come forward and lower down to your belly or through chaturanga and then take a big back bend. But we're gonna modify this for pregnancy. So depending on where you're at in your pregnancy, you may want to just stop here at hands and knees and take that modified cat-cow, a little bit less range of motion in your cow, and then exhale, round it out. Or you can shift your hips forward, and we're just gonna lower halfway through a push-up. Lower halfway, press back up to tabletop, tuck your toes, and push back down to downward dog. So we'll do that a few times today. Let's try it one more time, and you can kind of just feel out what version works for you right now. So you're gonna inhale, come forward through a plank down to tabletop. Stay for your cat pose, a little shorten range of motion, round it out, or come forward halfway, lower through halfway through a push-up, press back up, tuck the toes, push back to downward dog. All right, let's step your feet all the way forward outside of your hands. So your feet are nice and wide, toes turn out to the side. Drop your hips down, and if you need to use the block, you can use the block for your hands to rest on, or you can even use the block to sit on. And we're gonna just hold in the bottom of this squat position. Shift your weight around. You can use your elbows inside your knees or your thighs. Maybe you bring your hands together, but just see if you can open up those hips for your deep squat. All right, drop your fingertips down. Let's bring the block to the center of the mat, so you can use that block for a little bit of support. Lift up halfway to a nice long spine. Try to reach your chest forward. You can even look forward. And then as you exhale, drop your head down. Put a little bit of a deeper bend in your knees. Again, inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold down. Maybe you bring your fingertips to the ground. One more time. Breathe in, hands to the block. Lift halfway, strong through your spine. Breathe out, drop it down. Okay, bring your hands onto your thighs. Bend in both knees. Lift all the way up to stand. Reach your arms up high. Take a nice inhale. And as you exhale, take your right hand onto your left wrist and find a little bit of a side bend towards the right. Come back up to center. Breathe in. Switch the grip. So left hand onto right wrist, side bend over to the left. Come back up to center, reach both arms up high. As you exhale, cactus your arms. So you're gonna bend your elbows, pull your shoulder blades back and down. Keep lifting your heart up. One more like that. Breathe in, reach up. Breathe out, pull the elbows back and down. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, bend your knees, start to fold forward. Hands can go down to the thighs. Maybe then down to the block, and then down to the ground. You're gonna step your left foot way back. Lower your left knee down to the ground. And we're gonna make our way up to a lunge. Hands on the thigh if that feels good, or you can take your left arm up, or maybe even both arms up, just kind of depending on how your balance feels today, what your energy is like today. And for this lunge, let's work on trying to stack up the shoulders over the hips and really encourage the front of the left hip forward and your tailbone down. So we're gonna get into one of those nice big low lunges here in just a minute, but for now, let's keep this a little bit more active. So imagine dragging your right heel back and dragging your left knee forward like they're magnetized towards each other. And then with that stability down through your legs and through your pelvis, maybe you reach one or both arms up. Maybe you even look up. Breathe in and Fill your lungs up. Fill your cup up. Okay, let that go. Bring your hands down to the ground. And you're gonna take your right foot further out to the right side, as wide as you want. And now you can start to let those hips come forward. Maybe you start to roll forward onto the top of your left thigh. And then you can stay here with both palms down or add a little bit of a twist. Maybe you bring your right forearm to the inner thigh. Maybe it's the right hand. It might even feel good to reach that right arm up. Just find something that's working for you today. This is less about the twist and more about the opening through the front of the left hip and the inner right thigh. Okay, slowly start to make your way around to your left side. So you're gonna bring your right leg around, bring your knees together, and you're gonna lower yourself down onto your left hip. We're actually gonna come all the way down onto the left forearm. So stack your left elbow underneath your left shoulder. Let's start with your right hand on your right hip. You can use that left palm down into the ground to create a little bit more stability. So our knees are together, heels are in line with the hips, in line with the shoulders. You're gonna lift your hips up and open. So forward just a bit. And then send your hips back and down. Now notice how the left side of the body kind of wants to maybe drop down towards the ground. See if you can use those abdominal muscles to wrap the left rib cage in and up, and so that the left side of the body stays really contained throughout this movement. So we're gonna lift up and forward, back and down. Let's do a few more of those. This could be like a side plank variation. If you're a street parking member, you might be familiar with the functional progression warm-up. This is functional progression 2, or a variation of it. Take a few more reps here. Great. Okay, make your way over to hands and knees. And you can either stay here in tabletop for a little cat-cow, or shift your hips forward, take an inhale. Exhale, lower halfway. Inhale, press back up. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, push back to downward dog. And you can pedal out your feet. Maybe move your head a little bit. Take your feet wide if that feels good. Maybe deep in the bend of the knees. And then when you're ready, let's switch sides. So your left foot is gonna go forward, right knee down to the ground. We're setting up for that low lunge. You can use your hands on the block for a little support to help you lift up. Maybe bring your hands to your thigh. So you can probably see it a little bit better on this side. Shoulders over the hip, over that right knee for now. And then I'm just using the glutes, the strength of the muscle, to encourage that right hip forward. And then this left foot is like it's being pulled back towards the right knee. So these legs are being magnetized towards each other. You can stay here or right arm up. Maybe left arm up. Maybe you look up. Okay, when you're ready, hands down, right hand down. Take that left foot over to the left side. Maybe the left hand comes down, and you can let your hips drop forward and down. You can stay just like this, or left hand to the left thigh, maybe the forearm on the thigh, or maybe the left arm all the way up to the sky. Just kind of feel it out. At any point along the way, if you feel any like sharpness or pinching or pulling, it's too much. I want you to back out of that stretch just a bit. Okay, and then slowly start to shift the hips back. Slide that left foot back. You're gonna make your way onto your right hip and your right forearm or elbow. So bend your knees, line up your heels in line with your hips and your shoulder. And let's do that side plank variation or functional progression 2 here on the second side. So you lift your hips away from the ground and then open them up forward, back and down. Lift the hips up and forward. And we're doing about 4 or 5 of these. Try to keep that right shoulder down away from your ear. So you are pushing down through the whole right forearm into the ground. Make sure you're breathing. Okay. Rotate back to your hands and knees. Again, either stay for your cat-cow or inhale, come forward. Exhale, lower halfway. Inhale, press back up. Exhale, tuck your toes, push back to downward dog. And then walk your feet all the way up to your hands. Bring your hands to that block for a little bit of extra support. Turn your toes out wide, feet are out wide. Put a bend in your knees and bring your hands to your thighs. This time we've got one hand on each thigh and you're kind of pressing your thighs out and sitting your hips back. You're gonna start to rotate your left shoulder over towards your right thigh. Right shoulder towards the left thigh. And then switch. And switch. And then come back to center. Use your hands against your thighs to help you stand back up all the way. You can keep your feet wide. Bring the arms up high. Exhale right into that cactus. So open up the chest, pull the elbows back and down. One more time, breathe in, reach up. Exhale, pull it back and down. And then release your hands down. Bring your hands onto your hips. Shift your weight into your left foot. And then bring your right knee open to the right side. This time you're gonna slide your right foot onto the inner calf, maybe all the way up onto the inner thigh. And if balance is really hard for you today, just keep your right big toes down on the ground. Totally okay. But notice if you've started to press your left hip off to the left side. Can you bring your hips both back to center? And then encourage that right thigh to open just a little more towards the right side. Right hand onto your belly. And your left hand over your heart. Can you slow your breathing down? Maybe take a moment to reconnect to your belly, to your baby. Okay. Bring your hands onto your hips and start to draw your right knee forward. Now, start to lift your right knee all the way up in line with your right hip. Can you still stand up nice and tall? Pull your shoulders back and feel the abdominals, the strength of your core helping you keep that right leg lifted without hiking up your right hip. Hold it here for just another deep breath in. And then exhale, release your right foot down to the ground. Take a little bit of a wider stance, so toe heel your feet out just a little wider. A bend in your knees and fold forward. Bring your fingertips down to the ground. Make sure you've got that right block handy between your legs. Step your left foot way back to the back of your mat. Pivot your left foot down so that the entire sole of your left foot is on the ground. And let's bring the right foot a little closer to center. Bring your right hand onto the block just inside your right foot. Open up your chest towards the back wall, and then you can reach your left arm up and over your head. So kind of like what we did with that side plank variation, only now we're using the legs to help support the core. Can you deepen your lunge without losing that big side bend? And what happens if you rotate your chest up towards the ceiling just a bit more, or down? What feels good for you right now? Okay, using the strength of your core, of your abdominals, think obliques are firing up right now. Keep your legs exactly as they are and pull yourself up to warrior two. Arms are out wide. Keep your lunge. Bring your left hand to your belly. Reach your right arm up and back. Stay with it. See if you can get just a little lower in that lunge. Breathe into your belly. And then keep your right arm reaching up and back. Straighten your right leg. Okay, one more time. Again, from the waist, from your core, from your belly, you're going to rise up. And now let's shorten your stance 1 or 2 times. Reach your right fingertips way forward so the right side of your body is nice and long. And then lower your right fingertips down to your block. So we're in a modified triangle pose. You can soften the bend in that right knee. And work to pull your right hip back. And really work to rotate your chest towards the side wall. And you're welcome to look up. Maybe even reach that left arm up. Big breath. Okay. Use the strength of your core and you are going to make your way all the way back up and turn all 10 toes to the side and then start to soften that, put a bend in the knees before you go into your fold, and you're gonna start to fold forward. So a nice big wide-legged forward fold. You can use your hands on the block for extra support or bring your hands down to the ground. We're not here a super long time. Just enough to reset, let the tension go from your shoulders, your neck, your jaw. And start to walk your hands towards the front of your mat again. Pivot your toes towards the front of the mat. Lower the left knee down. Let's come into that nice low lizard lunge. So you're gonna step your right foot to the right side. Lower the hips down. Just a breath or two here. Let's keep your block, close and handy. And then start to take your hips back more towards your tabletop position. Your right foot back into that side lunging position. And this time you're actually gonna step it all the way back, but let's keep the right foot floating off of the ground. So kind of like that bird dog extension. You can tuck your left toes under if that helps you create a little bit more stability for yourself. Now pull the low belly in, spread the shoulders wide, stay here or extend your left arm forward. And bring your left hand down right underneath the shoulder. Try to keep your right leg lifted. We're gonna pivot the left shin just like we had before. Right hand onto your hip. The right leg is still lifted as much as you can. You can either keep it here or reach your right arm up to the sky. Look up to the sky. Breathe in. And breathe out. Okay, step or tap your right foot down to the ground. Now take it into that side bend. Reach the right arm up and over. Okay, reach your right hand up towards the ceiling. Now look down towards your left fingertips. You should have your left block handy. Feel free to use that if you want for a little bit of support. You can come to the left fingertips or come to the left block for a little in between, and then you're gonna make your way all the way up. Now let's put a bend in the right knee, just like we had before. Right forearm onto the right thigh, left arm up and over. And set your hips over towards the left side, deep in that side bend. And then come back up. This time we're gonna add a little bit more of a back bend, kind of like a modified camel pose. So you're gonna take the block, reach for the block, and set it off to the side and back just a little bit. And then you're gonna reach your right arm up and over. And imagine pressing your left hip forward. You can stay here or start to lift your chin, but it might also feel really nice to place your right hand on your belly. And make sure you're still breathing, connecting. Okay, when you're ready, come back up slowly, make your way around tabletop. You're gonna take your flow or your version of the flow. Inhale, shift your hips forward. Exhale, lower halfway. Inhale, push up through tabletop. Tuck your toes, lift your hips back, down dog. And then you can walk your feet forward. Use a nice wide stance, the block for as little or as much support as you want. One more time, a couple of those gentle little twists. Hands on thighs, right shoulder to left knee, left shoulder to right knee. Couple of nice big exhales. And then back to center. Use your hands against your thighs for support. Come all the way up to stand. Inhale, arms go up. Exhale, cactus the arms. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, cactus. Release your hands down to your hips. Bring your feet closer to hip width apart. Shift your weight into your right foot and open up your left knee to the left side. Left foot onto the right inner calf or the inner thigh. Just try to avoid putting it directly on the inside of your knee. And then get really active through your right leg, through your standing leg, like you're pushing down, squeezing your hips in and up. You can stay here or place your hands on your belly. And try to soften through your face. Reconnect to that 360 breathing. It's okay if you lose your balance. Just step back in if you can. And when you're ready, hands back to the belly, hands back onto your hips, and then bring your left knee forward and start to lift your left knee so it's up in line with your left hip. You might need to take your leg just a little wider depending on how far along you are. Hold it here, stand up really tall. Keep that left leg lifted for 3. Keep breathing for 2. 1. Knee through center, feet down, arms down. Let that go. Take your feet a little bit wider, a little bend in your knees, and forward fold. Step your right foot way back. Bring that block just to the inside of your left foot. You can move that left foot a little closer to the center of your mat. Pivot your right foot down, and then bring your left hand onto the block so you're in a nice big low lunge, extended side angle. Reach your right arm up and over your head, and try to keep your hips low and your breaths deep. Okay, hold your lunge and use your core like you're lifting through the waist, through your obliques, all the way back up. Hold your lunge. Bring your left arm up and over. Your right hand can go onto your belly, maybe onto your right thigh. What feels good for you? Try to deepen your lunge just a little bit if you can. And then straighten your left leg and rise up. Shorten your stance once or twice and really work to pull your left hip back. As you reach that left arm forward, we're gonna bring the left fingertips onto the block again. Right hand up to the ceiling. Rotate your chest towards the ceiling. And push down through your left big toe and find Lots of length through the back of that left leg. And kind of like that seated twist, can you keep your hips level and work this twist from your shoulders, from your neck, from your chin, even your eyes. Okay, push down through the feet. Come up slowly. Rotate all 10 toes to the side. Another forward fold. A little bend in the knees as you come down. Hands wherever feels good for you. So I like hands on a block. It feels really stable and supportive. But if you want to drop your arms down, maybe you make it passive and you grab for your elbows. Maybe you take your hands around your calves and you draw yourself in close. Just another breath or two. Okay, and start to walk your hands back towards your left foot. Lower your right knee down. Take that left foot to the left side. Pause here in that low lizard lunge. Let your hips come forward. Okay, you're gonna sweep your left leg, shimmy it out to the side, and then back and around so that it's lifted in that kind of like the bird dog extension. Keep your left heel in line with your hip. Stay or extend your right arm forward. Breathe. Try to keep your left leg lifted throughout this transition. Right palm just underneath your nose or your chin. Pivot your right shin across and start to open up your hips and your ribs. Keep that left leg lifted. Your left hand can go on the hip or maybe up towards the ceiling. Maybe you look up towards the ceiling. Stay here for just another breath. Tap your left foot down to the ground. The sole of the foot goes down to the ground, and then reach your left arm up and over your head. Your block, if it's not handy, reach for it now so that it's kind of close to your body, or it's set up for a little support if you want. So you can use that block as the transition as you lift up, or come up to your fingertips, take an inhale. And as you exhale, come all the way up. Put a bend in the left knee and then turn your left toes towards the side so your hip is open. One more time, reach that right arm up and over. Press your hips towards the right. And then come up. One last back bend here, or side bend. Right hand to the block, just slightly behind the right knee and off to the side. Left arm reaches up and back. Try pressing your hips forward and down. Soften through your jaw, soften through the back of your throat. And then when you're ready, slowly rise back up. Make your way back to hands and knees. One last flow. So either tabletop, cat-cows, or inhale, shift your hips forward. Exhale, lower halfway. Inhale, push up to tabletop. Exhale, press back to down dog. Last down dog, you can pedal your feet out, you can shift your hips around, make it feel good. And when you're ready, lower down into a seat. So you can sit on your knees, you can even sit up on your block, but if that still doesn't feel comfortable, just come around into a seated position with your legs crossed. We're just gonna pause here before we move into some of our cooling down stretches. Soften. Slow your breath. Connect to a wider breath. Maybe even a breath into the back of your body, into your chest, down through the back of your neck, and even up through the top of your head. Okay. If you haven't yet, go ahead and shift your hips around to the side. And you can actually move your blanket out of the way now. We're going to take a seated figure 4. So extend your left leg and take your right ankle to the top of your left thigh. Bring your fingertips behind you. This already might feel like plenty. You could stay right here or start to bend your left knee, but keep this right foot flexed a lot. Like you're pulling your toes back towards the shin, and you're even pressing the outer edge of your foot against the top of your left thigh. And try and sit up really tall. And notice what happens if you bring your left knee in a little closer, your shin a little closer. Try to breathe into the outer edge of that right hip. And keep your shoulders down. Okay, slowly release. And switch your sides. Left ankle to the right thigh. Slide your right heel in. If you prefer pigeon or some other variation of this stretch, you are totally welcome to take that. But I like this variation because it gives you a little bit more control without needing to fold forward onto your belly. And you can deepen this stretch as much or as little as you want by changing the position or placement of that right foot. Okay, slowly let that go. Bring the soles of your feet together and your knees wide. And start to draw yourself forward. And you can take your feet way far out in front of you and just lean forward a little bit. Or you can bring your feet closer, lean forward a lot more. If you've got that block handy, maybe put your elbows onto a block. If this just doesn't work for you at all, for whatever reason, no worries at all. You can take your legs wide and fold forward. We just want to get a little bit of that forward folding action. We did a lot of side bending. So we just want to neutralize your spine a bit. Start to slow down your mind. Slow down your nervous system. Try to drop your head. You can even let your lips part. And slowly make your way back up. We're going to finish off with side lying Shavasana. So you can use your blanket towards the top of your mat like a pillow, and you're going to come to lie on your side. And take your block and place it between your knees, or you could reverse that. Block underneath your head, blanket between your knees, whatever would feel more comfortable for you. You can place your right hand on your belly, maybe your left hand under your head or the left arm out. If it's comfortable, close your eyes. Take some slow breaths. Take a moment just to acknowledge everything that your body is doing for you and for your baby. To acknowledge and to appreciate. And just like you've created this really safe, warm, nurturing space in your belly for your growing baby, can you just let the space around you, the space that you've created here on your yoga mat, be that nurturing and supportive for you in this moment. If you've got a little bit more time, please feel free to stay here just like this for as long as you want. And when you're ready, you can take the block out from between the legs. Use your hands for lots of extra support and press your way up to a seat. Big deep breath in. Big deep breath out. Thank you so much for joining me. Have the best day ever.